What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. North Korea has fired 2 ballistic missiles off its east coast. They're believed to be the first launches without leader Kim Jong Un in the country. He's in Russia for a meeting with Vladimir Putin. Laura Stewart has more.
Kim Jong Un shakes the hand of Russian President Vladimir Putin. They're meeting at Russia's space rocket launch site in Vladivostok, Russia, in Kim's first trip out of North Korea since 2019. Russian officials have described the visit as a comprehensive meeting, but it comes amid warnings from Washington that the two countries should not trade weapons. North Korea is one of the only countries that openly supports Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and Pyongyang has a huge stockpile of weapons at its disposal. Although both Russia and North Korea deny that Pyongyang could supply arms to Moscow, Washington has expressed concern over the two sides' closer military ties. But North Korean defense analyst Edward Howell says the Russia-North Korea relationship is transactional at best.
Fundamentally, North Korea needs money, its economy is cash-strapped, and Russia needs munitions. Now, irrespective of whether the munitions are any good, they're qualitative.
The last time Kim left North Korea was also to meet with Putin. Some say this highlights the country's isolation, but also its close ties with Russia. And while some doubt the quality of potential weapons from North Korea, the two sides' shared opposition to the US is clear.
For North Korea to reaffirm its opposition to the US, it simply has to continue developing, accelerating, testing existing and new missile systems.
Putin has been silent about what the two leaders will talk about. But with Pyongyang continuing its weapons tests, there's increased speculation over whether they will put on a show of shared military might. Howard Chang and Laurel Stewart for TaiwanPlus.
The military has reported 28 Chinese warplanes and over a dozen naval ships operating around the country. It's part of what could be the largest ever drills carried out by China's Navy. The ships belong to a naval formation led by China's first domestically built aircraft carrier, the Shandong. It's now heading toward waters east of Taiwan. The group is expected to link up with other parts of China's Navy to conduct the unannounced drills. Taiwan says it's activated its air defense systems and has sent aircraft to monitor the drills. For more on just how concerning these exercises are, Moroccan spoke to Heritage Foundation defense analyst VallesGreen.
We're seeing now that China is conducting some of its largest, if not the largest, Navy exercise in the Pacific, with over 20 ships and now an aircraft carrier. How significant is this?
It's gotten a lot of attention just by the sheer size of the exercise. But when you sort of step back and look at the trend that this is part of, that's really what should cause people to be concerned. China has been increasing the size and sophistication of the exercises that it is conducting in and around the Taiwan Strait now for several years. They are increasingly realistic. They are clearly focused on getting China's military in a position where it is capable and ready to invade Taiwan. This is something that is it's not purely for propagandistic purposes. This is not a symbolic thing, at least not solely. These have real military implications, and the takeaway should be that China is deadly serious about getting ready for a conflict over Taiwan, and both Taiwan and the United States need to be equally serious if we're going to deter it.
We've seen Chinese military exercises before, but this increase in military presence, is there any cause of concern that China may be getting ready to take any sort of military action or maybe take that next step in provocative actions?
I think the time to start being concerned has long since passed. We are in or will very soon be in a period when China might realistically, Xi himself, come to the conclusion that they are able to successfully invade and take control of Taiwan. As this happens, we should expect the potential for a conflict to increase because at that point, the incentives for Xi to pull the trigger on that kind of campaign will only go up. So we are very much in a time where we ought to be concerned, where we should be taking this very seriously, moving urgently to strengthen deterrence. And the risk and the need for concern and urgency will only grow for the foreseeable future, in part due to the upcoming election, especially, if it goes, as many expect it will go to the DPP. There's no time to waste. We are very much in a dangerous situation, and it will only become more so in the next few years.
That was VallesGreen, a defense analyst at the Heritage Foundation, speaking to our reporter Jaime Ocon. Japan has reportedly appointed an active government official to serve as the defense attaché in Taiwan. The role is traditionally held by a retired military official to avoid angering China, which sees Taiwan as part of its territory. The latest move indicates Japan is putting a higher priority on defense ties with Taiwan. Japan and Taiwan do not have formal diplomatic relations, but Tokyo's interests are represented by the Exchange Association in Taipei. Taiwanese chip-making giant TSMC is reportedly optimistic about expanding production in Japan. That's as problems persist at its new factory in the U.S. state of Arizona. According to a Reuters report, TSMC is frustrated there as it struggles to recruit workers. It's also facing pushback from unions over plans to bring workers in from Taiwan. TSMC is already building one chip-making facility in Japan. Sources say it's considering adding extra capacity in a second fab, which could produce more advanced chips. Apple has announced the release date for its new iPhone model, the iPhone 15. The phone will be launched on September 22nd and comes in 4 different versions. Reports indicate that Taiwanese firms like TSMC, Foxconn, Pegatron, Wistron, and Largan are among Apple's major suppliers for the phone. The iPhone 15 launch follows news that China surpassed the U.S. as the biggest market for the Apple smartphones in the second quarter of this year. However, that trend may not continue as China recently banned government employees from using iPhones. A U.S. Congress member has said that China's recent economic troubles could raise the risk of it invading Taiwan. Republican Mike Gallagher, who heads the Select Committee on China, made the comments at an event in New York. His view is at odds with that of U.S. President Joe Biden, a Democrat, who said that China's slumping economy might limit its capacity to launch an invasion. Still, Gallagher says his country should prepare for the worst.
Conflict with China over Taiwan would be catastrophically destructive. Making a deterrence by denial strategy work, preventing World War III, is, I think, the near-term objective that needs to animate most of what we do in Washington, D.C.
Rescue teams have reached the city of Derna in eastern Libya after an unprecedented storm caused dams to burst, triggering devastating flooding. As recovery reports, tens of thousands of people are still missing, and many may have been washed out to sea.
The Libyan port city of Derna, now a disaster zone. This cultural hub of 100,000 people lies in a valley between mountains and the Mediterranean Sea. Now, a quarter of its buildings have been wiped out by floodwaters that came with little warning.
فقد منزل العائلة كاملة، نحن جيران بعضنا، عرفت عدة منازل جنب بعضنا، عائلة سقيب. فقدنا الآن تو 30 شخص، 30 شخص من عائلة واحدة. ما لقيناش ولا واحد إلى الآن.
After wreaking havoc in Greece and Turkey, Storm Daniel dumped 8 months' worth of rain in just one day on this part of eastern Libya. The rainfall caused 2 dams to burst upriver of Derna, with floodwaters reaching as high as 3 meters. Outside the city's hospitals, bodies line the streets as survivors search for loved ones. Thousands were killed, and more than 10,000 have been reported missing. Many may have been swept out to sea.
عندنا مشكلة في انتشال الجثث من البحر، وهذا قاعدين تحت البحرية الليبية وبعض الغواصين وبعض الضفادع البشرية قاعدين يحاولوا بكل جهدهم في انتشال الجثث.
Aid, including search and rescue boats from countries including Qatar, Turkey, Germany and the US, is now arriving at the North African country. But help has been slow to reach those who need it.
The reason why aid's not arriving is mainly logistic. Part of the roads accessing Derna have been destroyed, so the city is isolated, and efforts to reach the city via sea haven't materialized yet. Of course, there's the bigger problem of the political impediments to aid.
After a civil war that lasted 6 years, Libya is a divided country with rival governments. one in the east and one in the west, each backed by local militias. The internationally recognized administration in the capital, Tripoli, does not control the area in the east affected by the storm, but says it has sent help and put aside money for reconstruction. Derna had just picked itself up after being badly damaged during the recent civil war, and survivors say they're determined to again come together to rebuild their city. Andy Xue and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
Hopes of finding survivors of Morocco's earthquake are fading. The magnitude 6.8 tremor hit the North African country last Friday. Almost 3,000 people have been confirmed dead. In the race against time, search and rescue teams have been digging through the rubble in the remote High Atlas Mountains. The quake was Morocco's strongest on record and the deadliest to hit the country since 1960. Taiwan is one of several nations to send humanitarian aid to help rescue efforts. One of Hawaii's most active volcanoes has erupted, spewing fountains of lava over 24 meters. This is Kilauea volcano's third eruption this year. There have been no reported injuries, but Hawaii's Emergency Management Agency says the gases could be a problem for people who are exposed to them. Kilauea is one of 6 active volcanoes on the Hawaiian Islands and is popular among helicopter riding tourists. The government is set to relax the rules on hiring migrant workers as caregivers for people with severe illnesses or disabilities. But while some view the new rules as a step in the right direction, not everyone's convinced they go far enough. John Ventriest reports.
Every day, around 26,000 foreign live-in carers look after Taiwanese people with severe disabilities and dementia. It's a tough, round-the-clock job Taiwanese people don't want to do. Despite a need for these migrant workers, tight regulations mean few can legally hire them. Now, though, the government is heeding calls for change and promising to loosen the rules. It says a broader range of people will be able to hire a caregiver without having to get a special assessment from a doctor. These include people with less severe conditions, but who still need support. The government hopes to help about 600,000 who need a carer to find one. Under the loosened rules, around 20,000 more caregivers will also be allowed into Taiwan. But the reception has been mixed. While some advocacy groups are happy,
我们认为轻度家庭的确也还是可能会有这样子全日型照顾的需要。
others are concerned the new rules will make it harder for people with more severe conditions to find a caregiver.
外籍看护他也是劳工，他也有劳动权，所以他会选择比如说比较好的工作环境，最需要照顾或是家庭状况最不好、环境最不好的案家，反而是他们最不想要过去的。
And some feel the relaxed rules don't go far enough. For instance, a rule limiting caregiving jobs to nationals of just 3 Southeast Asian countries will remain in place.
包括新加坡啦、香港啊、日本啊、韩国，光是在亚洲，他们的劳动力引进国就已经不是像台湾只有3个国家，一定要先去多开发一些劳动力的引进国。
Getting enough workers has become a priority as the country's population is rapidly aging.
到111年为止，全台湾大概有83万的长照需求人口。 其中长照大概只能提供到40%的居家服务跟日间照顾，然后有1%左右是机构照顾，所以大概也就1半左右可以满足台湾人民本地照顾的一个需求。
Meaning debate over long-term care and the obstacles to getting it are not likely to go anywhere anytime soon. Eason Chen and John Ventriest for TaiwanPlus.
An aquarium in the U.S. has become home to 3 critically endangered fish from Taiwan. The bowmouth guitarfish are now at the Georgia Aquarium. Their transfer is part of a conservation project between the aquarium and research institutes in Taiwan. The fish are hunted for their distinctive fins and spikes, which are used for jewelry and food. There are fewer than 20 of them living in zoos in the U.S. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we'll leave you with images of a newly renovated lighthouse in France, which is said to be cursed. I'm Yvonne Young. Take care, and I'll see you next time.